Hello and welcome into another episode of Hot Wax. I am your faithful servant and host, Kurt Finn of Kurt Finn Music. It's good to be back for episode 11. On this episode, we're going to do a dive into a record, into a band that the reason why I'm doing this is because it's about the same time last year that I had just gotten to this band. I don't know if it was because of just plain ignorance or what. I mean, there was many people that had um, tried to turn me on to this band many times, and for whatever reason, it just fell on deaf ears to me. And I'm talking about a band called Waxahatchee and the incredibly talented Katie Crutchfield. And the album that we're going to be doing the deep dive into is an album that was released on the Anti-record label in March 22nd of 2024 called Tigers. And the reason why I'm doing this album is, like I said, about a year ago right around the date, I had turned on to Waxahatchee and this album. I drive a lot, so when I'm in the city, I normally switch over to college radio, and that's where I've been hearing a lot of. And I've been listening to a guy named MJ Lenderman. I don't know, you guys should check him out too. But I was listening to a lot of his songs, and there was a song that came out called "Right Back to It," and he was doing a duet with a female singer. And I thought, holy shit, this song is incredible. I think I listened to it 2 or 3 times, and sure as shit, when after had gotten done obsessing over it, I looked up, who MJ had collabed with, and it was Waxahatchee. Now, I had never really listened to Waxahatchee, like I said, and it's a shame that I never did. I should have definitely turned on to it but I didn't, and time works in mysterious ways, so I guess the time was right about a year ago. So after I heard the song, Right Back to It, I kind of, went to Tiger's Blood and I started listening to this record.
Take my money, I don't work that hard. I fall asleep in the beating heart of it.
And right away, the thing that struck me about this album was the production of it. And I couldn't get over how warm the tones were. It was like, the way it was recorded, it was like the vocals were recorded perfectly. The instrumentation was recorded perfectly. The arrangements were amazing. Had the pedal steel, and, banjo and electric guitar, and then the vocals and the bass and the drums were just ultimately recorded perfectly. Tiger's Blood has this amazing Americana, like alt country folk sound that obviously I crave. The Mississippi Stranglers obviously were, way influenced by that sound. And when I first turned on Tiger's Blood, that's what I automatically hit me. And then, of course, Katie Crutchfield. Katie's voice is incredible. She has a very unique voice. Her cadence is quite amazing. So listening to this record, it just floored. I knew right away this was an instant classic. And when I kind of brought it home, it was, it didn't catch on quick, but very soon this was in a constant rotation in my inner circle, and like I said, the song "Right Back to It" was something that hooked me right away. But there's so many other great songs on this record, and obviously the collab with MJ Linderman, his contributions to this album are incredible. His guitar playing, his nuances. But what really struck me is what a talent Katie Crutchfield. Um, Her songwriting, I would put up there with some of the best. I mean, her lyrics, her delivery, like I said, her cadence, her songwriting skills are off the charts. She is incredible. And of course, a very unique voice. I kind of put it up there with like, Emmylou Harris or like Loretta Lynn or like June Cash. I mean, it's so unique and so familiar, but yet so her. And she just has the ability to write amazing, amazing songs.
Photograph of us in the spotlight on a hot night. I was drifting in and out, reticent on the off chance I'm bunted in a bullseye, begging for peace of mind.
And again, you can hear kind of that production in it. What was really cool about it was when I turned on to her music and started learning a little bit about her, and knowing that she started the band Waxahatchee with her twin sister Allison. I mean, I want to say it was like 2010. Quite a bit ago. With her and her sister kind of doing like bedroom recordings and kind of like avant-garde folk, which is funny because after I listened to Tiger's Blood, the next album I had listened to was St. Cloud, which was the album before this. And that was released in March 27, 2020. St. Cloud was kind of an album about her, finding her sobriety, which, and it's very similar. Tiger's Blood, it has that Americana sound. And as a matter of fact, I might like it more than Tiger's Blood, but point of the matter is Tiger's Blood is one that hit me first in that record. It's the record in the corner, the red album, and here's a good copy of it that I have. But diving deeper into Waxahatchee, not just Tiger's Blood, was when I went all the way back to the album that I had first kind of heard about. It was about 2012, and a lot of people were kind of like, "Hey, you've got to check this out." She said, and the album American Weekend. And it's funny because I've recorded music very similar, very 4-track, very garage, psychedelic folk. What I used to call it, sonic Americana. And I was immediately blown away by American Weekend after listening to it. And then, of course, I moved on to some of her more grungier, like power pop stuff. Like Cerulean Salt is a great record. I mean, this girl has not come out with a band. And then Ivy Trip absolutely, kicked my ass. And then Out in the Storm. And again, another album with like this powerful rock, like power pop, just perfection, like grungy, kick-ass music. And then like, St. Cloud, and then some of her collaborations, Van Plains, and doing stuff with, as a matter of fact, she's in a new band right now, their sister, and MJ Linderman, called Snowcats, which is a totally power pop kind of grungy album that again, I relate to that. Something that I get into.
Something to hold back. If I put up a fight, it'll follow me home. I think I might stay out dancing if
And the cool thing about Katie Crutchfield, one thing I realized was the fact to like reinvent herself, to keep evolving with her music. Like when you listen to American Weekend and then you work your way all the way up to Tiger's Blood, it's amazing how the ebb and flow and the change of not only her music but her style, but even her image. For me, like a good band, I mean, you could come out with the same shit, album after album. You could keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, though it may be good and though I may like it. I tend to like more of somebody who's going to kind of evolve, right? Your albums are amazing, but it's the evolution, it's the gestation of your music, of your art, of your work, and I think Katie Crutchfield is amazing at that. To be able to come out with such diversity in her, and to be able to build what she's built. I mean, she's one of the hardest working musicians, male or female, out there. The way she's worked, the way she started, the Tiny Desk concerts, and up to now, working with MJ and working with all these different people. But when you go through the thing that's, to me, what makes Tiger's Blood special, obviously, is the fact that it was the first album that really turned me on to her and Waxahatchee. But it's just the soundscapes that it creates. Tiger's Blood is one of those albums where it's like any time of the year it seems perfect. Like for me, when I found it, it was wintertime. In the Midwest, it gets kind of cold. Nice to sit inside with a fire or outside, listening to this record. Or when, the winter breaks into spring, like springtime. This was a great record to listen to out in the yard with a fire in the spring. And then when spring is breaking into summer and like the summertime, it was just a great summertime record. And then summer breaking into fall, it was just a great fall record. And then it turns back to a great winter record. She has a great way of being able to tell a story, like some of the great songwriters. And with her delivery and with her voice and everything that she does, it just makes it that much more intriguing. And listening to Tiger's Blood, when you hear the stories, you hear the lyrics, right? And these are Americana songs. It kind of has, a little bit of that Sun Volt, or that Neil Young feel, or any of those good Americana bands, whether they're recent or from the past, it kind of marries those two together. Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, any of them. Joni Mitchell, I put her up there with some of the best. She's got a way about writing a song that can bring you right into the moment. You can feel the story, right? You can hear what she's conveying in her lyrics, and you can almost, put yourself right in that position. Like the song "My Fire Burns Out," fire burns out at midnight. I just think that
I get home from working hard, honey. State the obvious and watch your work its way in. We've been checked out, chasing the money. And I've been trying to tell them it ain't no way to live.
I find it so relatable, and I find it, and again, it's like the warmness of the recording. But the lyrics and the songwriting structures are amazing because, to me, the way I write songs is kind of similar. Like, you don't need to add all this bullshit in, just because you think musically it needs to be there. These are simple, wonderful Americana folk songs that tell, a great story and convey a message. And you can obviously tell that the songwriting and the bands, and the band Waxahatchee kind of, like I said, started out with her doing a lot of solo recordings, but there's been a lot of musicians that come in and out. I feel like she has a very good ear for picking out good musicians that add to her sound. It's like, I feel like, even in the, the harder rock stuff and the power pop stuff, and then, and the Americana stuff, I just feel like they're just perfect band members. Just the right person for the right time. And the revolving door of a band is kind of a cool thing because it keeps your sound fresh. It keeps different. And with this record, much like St. Cloud, it is a very Americana record. It's a very storyteller's album. And for her, it's kind of a cool thing because it's, you know, it was such a, different from her first few albums. Like Ivy Trip, I can't get enough of. I mean, it's raw, it's emotion, it's rock and roll, some of it, and it's just pure. But Tiger's Blood really moved me. It's like I felt really relatable to the type of music because having coming from a garage psych um, rock and roll background and then going into the Americana thing, I kind of felt into. And on this album, like I said, it becomes in a rotation, but the way that the songs move throughout the whole album, again, it's one of those albums where it's like you listen to the whole way through, and it's just amazing. I mean, it moves you constantly the whole way through. One of my favorite, Lone Star Lake.
What do you say? Sleep all day, drive out to the only lake in Kansas. Turkey week, my heart sinks in the orange and pink, and I call you by your last name.
There's something about it, like I said, like the songwriting and the lyrics and the delivery. It's so amazing. But you hear like the production of it, the banjo, the pedal steel, everything that it's got going for it. I mean, it's Americana perfection. And Katie Crutchfield is such a, like her guitar playing even, like I love the structure and the arrangement of her guitar work. The way that, I can just picture this song being played with acoustic guitar and just, her singing solo. But again, it's the lyrics. It's the delivery that puts me in that place where I feel the songwriter's emotion. I can put myself in the story. I can be part of a record because I understand the record. It resonates. It brings you to a place that only it's like that 10-second buzz that only right? And it's one of those things that when you hear a record like that, it connects with you. And this album, Tiger's Blood, really connected with me. And again, I think I even like St. Cloud better, the song Lilacs and this. And I love that record. But Tiger's Blood, again, was the one that brought me in, and it was the one that really, sat my ass down and really got me paying attention to Katie and her wonderful project, Waxahatchee.
Corner, she's waiting for me to come out. And I ain't said a word in weeks. These old habits weigh you down. I can't talk to God, I can't light it up. I can't take something that I'm worthy of. You sing it wrong.
Again, I just feel like her delivery and the way she has the ability to write a song that can move the listener and move. And also just as a musician, as such a talented musician, is going. When I dove down the rabbit hole and I did a deep dive into all of her records, it's just so amazing and such a breath of fresh air to listen to an artist that doesn't rinse and repeat, and just put out the same thing over and over and over again. It's rebranding yourself, it's reinventing yourself, it's evolving yourself. And I kind of feel that Katie Crutchfield is that type of musician that has that special ability. Like Dylan, you name it, any musician that's ever, been worth their salt, that puts something out that they can evolve and do their own. And Katie Crutchfield has worked so hard with Waxahatchee and all of her other projects. And to get where she's gotten, to be nominated, for some pretty prestigious awards. But it's funny, with American Weekend, I mean, she was, like one of the, top, rising independent musicians or something like that. I mean, American Weekend is such a lo-fi piece of Americana gold, and all the albums really. And Tiger's Blood is just, one of those albums that it's timeless. I think St. Cloud and Tiger's Blood could kind of be put into the same category. You can listen to them back to back. I commend her on her sobriety and talking about things and being vulnerable in writing lyrics that, which I've learned to do recently, is don't hold back. Sing about what you feel, write about what you're going through. Let the listener in, because they could relate and it could change, the trajectory of where they're going.
You come alive in the heat, you ain't crossing state lines, stood up like a crepe myrtle, can't be killed or denied. Throw a brick through the window, leave your mess at my door. Lord.
She has one of my favorite voices that I've ever seen. I think, her and Zoe Deschanel are two of my favorite female vocalists, and I think it's because of their unique sound. It's just not, the same old, same old. It's they kind of have their own sound and their own delivery in it, and it really moves me. Tiger's Blood just really hit me deep, and I can't say enough good things about it. I recommend it to anybody. If you, and obviously for you that are into the Waxahatchee thing, you already know what I'm talking about. But if you've never gotten into Katie or even MJ Linderman, the collaboration they did on Tiger's Blood is amazing. I just love how they work together and how they sound together. But if you've, this is an album that I really, think that my friends and family and the listeners here should really check out if you have. And of course, as I always say, if it's an album that you've heard, go back and listen to it again, because Tiger's Blood is truly a gem. I mean, it's just Americana gold. And Katie Crutchfield is, in our time, one of the talents. I mean, she was playing on the Outlaw Festival with Dylan, and Willie. She was doing all those things. So people are paying attention, and as well they should. Katie Crutchfield. So that having said, I'd like to just recommend Tiger's Blood, on Anti Records, March 22nd, 2024 release. Just Americana perfection, and she is one of Americana's darlings. And I can't say enough about her bands and about her producers and about everything that goes into Waxahatchee, through the years and the evolution of the band. Tiger's Blood, Waxahatchee. It is time for you to pick this album up. So thanks for tuning in to the Hot Wax podcast. We talked about the Tiger's Blood record from Waxahatchee, a band and an album I definitely think you should turn on to if you haven't already. And stay tuned for episode 12. That'll be coming at the end of the year. I've already got the album picked out. It's one of my favorites, of my favorite all-time bands and my favorite all-time record, which I received as a Christmas gift as a young man. So, as always, for God's sake, spin what you love and love what you spin. This has been Hot Wax. I am Kurt Finn. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Take care.